Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping straight into a truly mind-bending, esoteric cosmological text. This source material completely redefines the very nature of space, time, and reality as we know it. It outlines a universe teeming with invisible life, overlapping dimensions, and endless possibilities. So, ask yourself this: what if the universe we see, touch, and measure is just a tiny fraction of what's actually out there? Imagine for a second that right where you are sitting, entirely different worlds, celestial beings, and sweeping landscapes exist in the exact same physical space, just operating on a frequency we can't quite tune into. To make sense of all this, here is our game plan. We'll look at the invisible Elysium world, map out the cosmos, explore the 10 continents and celestial islands, witness some magic on Snow Peak, and wrap up with the hierarchy of realms. Let's get right into it.
All right, part one, the invisible Elysium world, beyond the physical. Let's look at how this text breaks down the architecture of the space all around us.
Okay, so the core idea here is a strict split between two realities. You've got the positive universe. That's our physical, visible world. It's objective, governed by time, and everything here eventually ages and decays. But in stark contrast, you have the negative universe, specifically the Elysium world. This place is totally fluid, fantasy-based, and practically timeless. Objects here don't have fixed physical forms. They exist by their underlying nature, popping into physical shape only when they are actually needed. To wrap our heads around this super abstract idea, the source material actually uses something we all experience: dreams. It treats dreams as a literal portal into this negative space. Think about it. The scale and vividness of your dreams aren't bound by the laws of physics, right? The text argues that a dream size is determined entirely by a person's spiritual mass, perception, and experience. It's why some people just dream of mundane reality, while others soar through these massive, vibrant celestial realms. And if you're wondering, well, why can't we see this Elysium world, the text gives us a great analogy. Imagine standing in a dark field. To human eyes, you might just see the tiny blink of a firefly, completely missing its wings and body. But an owl clearly sees mice scurrying around in that exact same pitch black. The text suggests our inability to see the Elysium world is just a biological limitation of our human retinas. It claims there are literal invisible rivers and millions of unseen lives overlapping right now with our very own bedrooms. Having established these overlapping realities, let's zoom way out to Section 2, Mapping the Cosmos, the Law Rotary System. To give you an idea of the sheer unimaginable scale we're dealing with here, consider the number 1,860. The text states that our entire Earth universe, everything our telescopes can see, is just a tiny particulate. If you tried to travel across just this little particulate through a space tunnel, it would take you 1,860 years. That is roughly 58.6 billion light-years. And that massive distance, it's literally just a single grain of sand in this grand cosmology. Structurally, it's basically a giant cosmic nesting doll. At the absolute core is the heaven world. Revolving around that is the Law Rotary System, made up of over 3,000 massive rotary river worlds. Inside those are thousands of Milky Way systems, or middle worlds. And finally, inside those are the solar systems, the small worlds. So our Earth is just one lonely little rock sitting at the very bottom of this massive hierarchy. Let's step further into this taxonomy in Section 3, the 10 continents, realms of the Buddha. This organizes those 3,000 macro worlds. The hierarchy is incredibly specific, heavily influenced by the spiritual mass of the life forms there. At the bottom, you have the Lotus continent. That's the entry point for mortals ascending. Higher up, there's the Moon Temple continent, and all the way at the top, the Supreme Authentic Wisdom continent. Now, what's really fascinating here, just looking at it objectively, is how the text weaves figures from entirely different religions, like Allah, Yahweh, and Sakyamuni, into these strict jurisdictional boundaries, giving them actual geographic coordinates in the cosmos. Let's isolate just one of those continents to really grasp the world building here in Section 4, the Celestial Islands, an ocean of stars. Picture a slowly rotating disk of mist and dust that is 300,000 light-years wide. Within that single continent of flowing cosmic rivers, there are a staggering 80 billion floating island planets. 80 billion! 30 billion of these are already inhabited by celestial beings. That leaves 50 billion empty islands just patiently waiting for mortals from realms like ours to spiritually ascend and claim their own celestial real estate. Now, what does life actually look like up there?
Let's turn to Section 5, Magic on Snow Peak, a story of transformation. We're zooming in on just one of those 80 billion realms.
The source material shifts here into a vivid, almost cinematic story. It starts on a vast, barren wilderness that produces nothing but pure loneliness. But then, a dead rock at the base of a towering 10-level mountain suddenly transforms into a celestial being named Yue. She sends out invitations made of literal fire across the cosmic sea, and thousands of beings show up to witness her magic. I mean, they swoop in riding flying horses, peacocks, comets, and even dog sleds. This is where that fluid physics of the Elysium world comes into play. With a literal wave of her sleeve, Yue transforms this desolate wasteland into a lush banquet in seconds. It's wild. Red brick palaces materialize out of thin air. She grabs green pears, tosses them, and they expand into ornate tables and chairs. Peaches fall and turn into beautiful fairies serving fruit. My personal favorite, frogs leap out of a brand new pond and transform midair into handsome waiters dressed in black.
And get this, the feast itself is incredibly surreal. When those waiters pour wine into glowing cups, the guests look inside and see literal tiny ecosystems. There are swimming goldfish, flying mini dragons, and glowing pearls moving around inside the liquid itself. This isn't just a fancy drink. The text describes it as a gift of condensed spiritual energy, laid out as a massive sign of respect for a highly revered elder at the party, known as the Empty Buddha.
But as quickly as the party starts, it's over. The guests fly back off into the cosmos. Yu claps her hands, breathes out a stream of white mist, and poof, the palaces, the dancers, the feast, they all vanish entirely. The island collapses back into its true, empty essence, and she disappears in a flash of golden light. It perfectly shows a reality based entirely on nature rather than permanent physical form.
Moving away from Snow Peak, we hit the final stretch. Section 6, Hierarchy of Realms, the Cosmic Taxonomy.
Here, the text drops a massive data dump, neatly organizing every conceivable state of existence. It sorts them into 3 clean buckets. High-level senior spaces of life, like heaven and the Elysium world. Intermediate spaces, which include dreams and the holographic order. And finally, the low-level junior spaces, which is where you find hell, along with the plant and animal worlds.
What's really wild are some of the specific definitions in this hierarchy. Take the cathode black hole body, for example. The text completely redefines the astrophysical black holes we know from science, describing them instead as the highest energy planets in the universe, and they function specifically as celestial prisons for gods who break the laws of heaven. It totally merges modern astronomy with esoteric theology.
And then there's the absolute edge of the universe, the holographic order world, or chaos world. It's described as an eggshell-like protective layer made of high-energy clouds. In this intermediate realm, conventional morality completely dissolves. It's a place of pure, chaotic freedom, where thinking enters an unrestricted integration with the Tao.
So, we'll end with this thought. Whether you view this text as an elaborate esoteric metaphor or an earnest, literal map of the cosmos, it absolutely forces us to push the limits of human imagination. If our eyes really are just like fireflies in the dark, what invisible realities might you be walking through right at this very second? It's a wild paradigm shift to chew on today. Thanks so much for exploring this with me.